Bosses of Reddit. What is the most messed up reason you have had to fire an employee for? I work at a 7-Eleven and we had this crazy customer. Louis, that would come by every night. He thought he worked there and would stand outside saying hi to everyone all night. He was entirely harmless. But every once in a while he would come by drunk and instead of saying hi, would say nice titties, regardless of gender or age of who he was saying it to. My co-workers would try to get him to leave, but he wouldn't. Before they would call the cops I would just stick my head outside. Bluntly tell him he's fired. And he would just walk home. He could be in mid-sentence and stop what he was saying and walk home. He was awesome. On Monday I had to fire an employee for beating the hell out of a customer with a metal broom and dustpan combo. Even though our store is on lockdown from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. and all transactions are done through the walk-up window. The employee unlocked the doors and went outside and beat this guy. The video footage pretty brutal. Now he wants me to write up a form and say we just laid him off. Anyway, that was my Canada day. I had a soldier with a tattoo that went up the back of his neck. Got a waiver when he joined in late 00. Then 02 or thereabouts, the army changed its tattoo policy so that all waivered tattoos had to be re-evaluated. And if not deemed in reg, the soldier either removed it or was discharged. This kid was a good troop, no discipline issues. And I'd recommended him for promotion to sergeant. His tattoo was a tribal-ish design of his dead kid's name. Brigade Command Sergeant Major had a harden for anything outside the new criteria to be removed. Or the soldier was kicked out. Kid wouldn't change it because it meant something. He got kicked out faster than anyone I've ever seen. Me, my platoon sergeant, and the first sergeant all wrote letters of support, but to no avail. He struggled for a while after getting out, but went back to college and got a job in it, I think. Haven't talked to him since 05. Good guy. TLDR. Kicked a guy out of the army for having a tattoo they had let him in with. Plagiarism. 25 plus times. Out of 30 articles that she had written. She was a recent college grad. Quite bright. An excellent writer, but utterly lacking in confidence. So instead of writing articles on her own, she largely copied them from other places online. At first, I thought she had done it a few times. I met with her. And she claimed it was the result of sloppy procedure. She'd cut and paste content and then planned to rewrite it, but forgot to do so. I assured her that we really liked her work and hoped she'd be working with us forever. Something made me delve into it further that night, and I discovered that it was rare for her not to plagiarize. I fired her at 9:05 a.m. the next day. The good news? She apparently learned her lesson and is now a highly successful independent blogger. We hired a young woman to work in our shop and she was supposed to start at 10 Monday morning. She didn't show up. We weren't able to get in touch with her till the afternoon when she told us that she had forgotten that she had a new job. Because she was a friend's niece we gave her a second chance. Tuesday morning and she didn't show up. She phoned us at 11 to say she would be right in and could she have Wednesday off because today is my sister's birthday and we're gonna get wrecked. We told her not to bother coming in. My father owned a printing company and wondered why the runs of a new employee were strangely off you a lot of the time. It didn't take long for him to realize the poor guy was colorblind and didn't know. Sadly he couldn't do the job so he was let go. Had an employee who was doing really well in sales and recruiting. I kept getting calls from former employees saying they never received their checks. It turns out he had stolen 7 of them from my office and signed them over to himself by forging their signatures. When I was in the Navy, I once saw a cook, mess specialist, being escorted off a neighboring ship in cuffs. Found out he had been their night baker and was caught making women out of dough and having his way with them before turning that same dough batch into the bread, cakes, and muffins for their crew. I was told that his custody was mostly for his own protection as that ship's crew didn't appreciate his secret ingredient. Note. I have gotten so much enjoyment out of reading everyone's replies to what is almost my worst sea story. I just wanted to say thanks to Reddit for the laughs and thank God this asshole wasn't on my ship added. Clarity grammar. On God. I've waited for this moment for a year now. I work in an oil and gas in situ plant, which is located a couple hundred kilometers, I'm Canadian, north of civilization. We have giant complexes that house over 3,000 workers at a time. We have our own airport here in Plains that we use to fly workers home on their week off. These complexes are set up like hotels, but a long hallway with 42 rooms in each wing. Each one of those wings contains a washroom with 8 tiny washrooms inside of it. In each of the 8 rooms, there is a shower and a toilet. Okay, now that I've prefaced the story, on to the explanation of events. One day I get a call from a very angry cleaner who had, upon opening one of the stalls, been greeted a big steaming turd which was in the shower. She was obviously very upset. And rightfully so. That particular wing housed a section of my 380 employees. talking it up to a drunken accident from the night before. Or someone who had an accident. We apologized to the cleaner and went on with the regular workday. The following morning the same cleaner called again to tell me the same story. Shit in the shower. Amazingly, the toilet is located literally less than 1 foot away from the shower door. So this whole shower shitting incident was the act of an intentional shower shitter. For the next 6 days the guys in the dorm and the cleaners would open this door to find one of the shower stalls full of shit. This happened so frequently, the guys would laugh and refer to morning showers as a game of shit roulette. I spent 4 days intricately tracking the occurrences of the reported shower shiting and cross-referencing all of the 380 employees' shift schedules, sick days, vacation time, etc., and narrowed it down to one guy. We set up a sting, Operation Stinky Shower, and caught the guy sneaking out of the stall after leaving a fresh turf smeared all over the walls and floor of said stall. I obviously had to let him go. It was the most awkward termination I ever had to do. As he was a union worker. Our policy states that there needs to be a representative of his union. An hours person, and myself present for each termination of employment. I had to explain to a 47-year-old man. In front of his friend and neighbor at home, as well as the very attractive 34-year-old female hours rep, that he was being released from employment because of repeated defecation in the public showers. His response? Doesn't everyone shit in the shower? I do it at home all the time and just use the handheld shower thingy to rinse it down the drain. There was no shower one thing in camp. So how was I supposed to get rid of it? This was the great shower shitting incident of 2011 and has consistently resulted in me winning the shittiest firing ever award. Edit number 1, thanks for the gold, whoever you are. I never thought shit investigation would win me anything shiny. This girl kept calling in sick randomly around 3 to 4 shifts a month. She'd always make different excuses. My car broke down. I have the flu, blah blah blah. Well, this one night, she said she was in the hospital for some infection. A few of us went for drinks after work to watch the hockey game and there she was. On TV. On the kiss cam in a city 1200 km away. When she came back to work 4 days later, I made small talk about her hospital visit. She made up some stories. Then I said, hey, take a look at this. Doesn't this look like you and your husband? And showed her a YouTube clip one of the guys cut from his PVR. At the time I headed up a web development team of 7. And one guy was always a bit creepy. But quite a nice guy. We used Irk a lot to discuss web development problems in the Freenode community and to progress development. But I have to admit, this guy seemed to be on there quite a bit more than everyone else. One day, walking past him at his desk, I noticed the old quick minimize going on as he turned his chat window down. Which immediately caught my attention. So, after that, I logging on his Merc. And waiting a few days. Turns out he wasn't really working on web dev bits on Irk. But having really explicit bondage, S&M, pain-sounding cyber sex with a girl online. That was not an easy conversation to keep a straight face for. The LDR thought a guy was online chatting about work, BDSM cybersex all day. I had to fire a fellow employee for stealing everyone's tips and leaving them only a few dollars. Thought that was pretty fucking annoying of her to do. She was the youngest and most spoiled girl. We had employees who actually needed every penny they could get. A few weeks ago I was at an Applebee's with my girlfriend and we had just left. We left a pretty good tip and we were walking by the window where our booth was on our way back to my car. We saw another waiter come by, look around a bit to make sure no one was looking, and take the tip that was meant for our waiter. I didn't know what to do so we just left. I'm not sure if I should have came back in and told a manager or something. It's also possible that he was going to give the tip to our waiter and he was just cleaning up our table. But he looked way too suspicious while cleaning that table and taking the tip. I don't know. I still feel kind of bad about it. 45-year-old employee took LSD in the bathroom in the middle of his shift. There were some fucked up looking sandwiches served that day. We were super tight about overtime, yet there was a shitload of work to get done. To make himself look good. The night shift supervisor would let guys stay late but then go into the system and take off some of their overtime hours. He was careful to not do too much, so it took longer than you would think for one of the guys to question their pay. We fired him and walked him out before we told anyone. The third shift crew was pretty rough, so who knows what they would have done to that guy. This was a long time ago, so I would assume most software has some auditing built in to catch this kind of stuff now. I was once laid off for 7 weeks from a very good high-paying job because someone who looked like me was accused of being a pervert. We had 2 gyms on site. One ladies and 1 dudes. I was one of the only men with long hair that worked there, almost the only one. There was a dude who oddly enough wore the same clothes and had the same hairstyle. Was caught on tape spying in the girls' locker room. They let the esteemed engineer keep his job, while the young 20-something, me, took it on the chin. After explaining myself over and over again. And that it couldn't have possibly been me, other people openly spoke about how there's no way I could have been in two places at once. They brought me back on. Defending myself for being a perverted fuck to high-level corporate legal and HR was somewhat humiliating. I got my job back and kept it for another 6 months. Then got laid off, fired in a way that allowed me to collect for 18 months. Not me. But my girlfriend's younger sister got the elementary school computer teacher fired for showing up drunk to class and started talking to 5th graders about her drug abuse. I by Ms. Tanaka. Our summer camp director had to fire one of our employees because he was recording little girls getting changed for the swimming pool. The guy was like barely 18. I was not the boss. But I was told this by my boss. A man and a woman were working in our call center and they were sending each other an abundance of emails back and forth about the things that they had done together in our employee bathroom. They were apparently pretty graphic in the details. Well, one of them accidentally sent the entire email thread to a customer who later called in to report this. They were walked out immediately.